All right, Bang Bang. Today is Thursday. It's August 12th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Got another free swim. And we're going to be talking about a lot of swimming, I feel like, in this one, too.
Yeah, that seems to be the theme.
Yeah, so we're doing another doc review in this one. I don't know if these free swims are just going to become full doc reviews or what, but last week was fun, so we just kind of stuck with that theme. Today, if you looked at the title, you could clearly tell we did Class Action Park. It's a doc that came out on HBO Max last August, and I thought it was another fun one.
I loved it. I loved it, yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure if you would because instantly, like 5 minutes in, you text the group, and also Dante and Chief are here, same crew. You text the group with the three of us, and you say, this is such an Eddie doc. So I was like, oh, great.
Well,
it's like,
was I wrong?
I'm just handcuffing this guy to...
No.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's just like, this is so Eddie. It's about an amusement park. It's from something that like peaked in the 80s. Like they even in the doc like showed clips of like Goonies and what were the other two movies that they like just showed little clips of?
Stand By
Stand
Me.
By
Two
Me.
of my favorite
You're right. Those
movies.
are like his movies. Yeah. Like Eddie, like I always say, like Eddie was just born at the wrong time.
The
like,
people in the actual videos from the park and the commercials from the park looked like stand-ins from Stand By Me. They were like central casting, like they looked like characters right out of the movie.
Yep.
You're right. That's what I do love. However, I can fully say that I would have been way too big of a pussy to do half the shit.
Oh, not me.
You would have done this shit?
I thought it looked awesome, but then it's like, so we should, you want to tee up what this thing
Yeah,
was?
so essentially for the people that haven't watched yet, if you follow along on the Twitter, that's the best advice I could give you, or Instagram, Dog Walk Barstool. We post like the night before what doc we're going to watch, so that's the best way to kind of be filled in here. But if you haven't seen it, basically there was a park in northern New Jersey that was called Action Park. And it was a lawless, dangerous amusement park that just had no rules. It was anything goes, had the scariest rides, no concern about public safety.
Zero. No. So, and like, it was like a water park and an amusement park, but really no like roller coasters, but it was all like, you know, I was about to say lazy river, but it was like river rapids and like these crazy water slides, but then they also had like goat carts and things like that
no
too.
roller coasters. That's
The whole thing was...
That's such disrespect to the man in the ball and the ball.
All right, so now you have to give the people an idea. Now you have to explain the man in the ball in the ball.
I think we got to go back. We got to do some
You can't
background.
just leave him hanging.
Hold on. We'll get to that. You got to talk about the brains behind this oration.
Yes.
Because this guy was a mad scientist.
Gene Mulvihill was the guy's name. Clearly, we're going to talk as if people have seen it.
Yeah.
So the guy, Gene, he was like a penny stock guy, like got booted out. So he
Perfect.
bought a couple ski lodges.
In New Jersey.
They said that way too nonchalantly.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do if you get caught by the SEC and you get kicked out of the stock exchange? You just buy ski lodges.
Right.
It's like, what?
In northern New Jersey, the ski capital of the world. So they're like 45 minutes from New York City.
So Vernon, New Jersey. It looked like Oregon.
Oh, it was beautiful. Yeah.
There was like farmland everywhere.
It was like a Norman Rockwell painting, like just like idyllic, like rolling kind of hills and forests and like these little like quaint villages that like I guarantee you like George Washington stopped through there, like you know, like on his way to Trenton and stuff. So like that was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And then so they moved this like chaotic, that was just pure chaos, like water park, amusement park into the town. And like some of the townspeople initially, that was one of my favorite takeaways from the thing, because they had like a recorded conversation for him. The townspeople were like, man, like this guy's causing us all sorts of problems. Like we don't have enough ambulances for everybody who's getting hurt at his park. And then you hear Gene, and they would always call him Uncle Gene, saying like, let's just start our own town. So rather than like deal with the people, he's like, no, we'll just start our own town. We'll cut it off at like this highway, and like we'll have our own town, and they can't tell us shit. So his whole solution to dealing with everybody is just like two big middle fingers.
Mulvihillville, I think the guy suggested calling it. So this guy was the ultimate problem solver. He bought this ski resort and made great money in the winter, and then summertime came, and they were like, how do we keep this cash flow going? Let's start this wild fucking wacky water park. And I mean, It was if I didn't watch this documentary and you were sitting here telling me about this, I would be like, "What are you fucking talking about?" Well, the highway that ran through the middle of this thing. There was an interstate highway running through the middle of this thing.
Shout out Route 94.
And it was called Action Park, which is like so 80s.
Perfect, yeah.
Just fucking perfect. He had the scummiest, shadiest looking guy, Bob Brennan, which is the perfect name for this guy, bankrolling this whole thing, which I thought was like another thing that they just kind of swept under the rug. They would cut to clips of this guy standing in his like Gordon Gekko 3-piece suit in front of a helicopter, pitching this commercial for like equities. And they would just be like, yeah, whenever, Uncle Gene needed money, he would just go to Bob, and Bob would be how much do you need?
Yeah. So, and then, but you're saying like this guy's like building this water park, whatever. And usually when you hear about like, oh, they're like, Disney or these places that are building, they have like teams and teams and teams of engineers to construct these things. Uncle Gene just had himself, and who is not an engineer. So he's like, what would be sweet if we had a water slide that did a loop-de-loop. And this is like it literally did a full like revolution. And when they're showing it, I'm like, well, there's no way. Like I'm
Cannonball loop.
The cannonball loop. I'm like, there's no way like that can even work like at all. Like how are you going to send a person through it? Well, he did. And guess what? It never really worked because they like tweaked it or whatever. But they were like, you couldn't be too skinny because you wouldn't get enough momentum force going down to make the loop. Or if you were like overweight, like it was like
you just get stuck.
You get stuck. So they had a trap door on like the top of the loop to like get to fish people out of there who got stuck. But then if you met the requirements to go through it, you're fucked because you would lose contact with the slide, and so you would go up to the top and then just fall like 4 feet, hit yourself, and then just continue on down.
Whack your ribs and just keep going.
They said, how about the part where they were like, how do we test this? Well, let's offer the employees, these teenagers, $100 to go down it because they sent dummies down, and the dummy, like the mannequins, would come out like pieces. Fucking mangled. Like their arms would be like, all broken apart. So they're like, let's send humans down because mannequins take it.
$100 a pop.
$100 a
lot of money in the 80s.
Yep. Oh, huge money.
Kids and the employees would line up to do it. But dude, the fucked up
Hold on, one point where they were like, we sent one person, a few people down. They were like hurt. They whacked their heads. They had scrapes and bruises. Then they had a couple of people go who had like gashes.
But they were like, we couldn't figure out what they were getting cut on.
It was because the people who went first had their teeth fucking knocked out and they were stuck in the slide.
They had padding. They had padding on the ceiling of it, and when they opened up the trap door, there were teeth stuck in it.
Unbelievable.
So I've always had an irrational fear that I've never really liked those fucking dark tube slides. Because I don't know. I thought like someone was always going to take a massive wine cork and just fucking plug it and stop it like it's stuck in there. I know it's stupid, but I swear to God, that's an irrational fear I've always had. I was legitimately like shaken to the core looking at that thing. Dude, okay, they got a trap door on top. What if someone doesn't make it up there and then you're stuck in the
bottom?
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was another one in the bottom, but...
Yeah, you're right. Like if you go up and you don't have the momentum, so then you can't climb your way out of that.
The only thing is, did you see the pitch on that thing? It was so steep.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was pitch black. So you were literally jumping into pitch blackness.
You're jumping into the abyss. Like that could have been a tube straight to the center of the earth for all you know.
Dude, it was wild. So that's how it started off. And they were like, Gene, and he had his right-hand man who was like basically said, he goes, Disney and Six Flags have like teams of schooled engineers, and we didn't want those people,
right? Because they would say no.
Yes. It was like, so it was basically us coming up with stuff and then paying people to construct it,
right? Oh, and then that was like the whole thing. Like they would. Now I gotta say, like that one, fuck that one. The other one, there was a water slide where you go through a tube and then you're like suspended out into midair. That to me looked awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't think that was as bad as they made it out to be.
The only thing that would be bad would be the people coming right behind you. Like but I feel like that's always the case at like water parks and stuff.
Yeah, that's
you gotta
scary.
But there's a little difference between getting a little kick in the back versus someone landing on top of your head.
Correct.
For sure.
Right.
The thing that was like scary about that though is that they until you had gone down, you had no idea that you shot out. You just thought you were coming out like on a regular water slide, and then nope, whoosh, you're 10 feet in the air.
And is it just me, or have you seen these water parks where you literally go into a river or a lake, whatever the fuck it was? Like, usually you're going into like a pool.
Yeah, these were.
Yeah,
this
was like
springs.
a real. This was like it was
exactly.
These were springs.
People would get like hypothermic shock because they would be like a hot summer day, but it was spring fed, so the water was still super cold. Yeah, but I actually thought that would made it even cooler, if you ask me.
But it's just crazy. You don't see that type of.
It's fucking. Have you been in a spring? It's freezing.
Yeah,
dude.
really? So that was
your
like
nuts go up into your like stomach. You like
my mom is from a place called Westport, Connecticut. And there's this place in Weston, Connecticut that my uncle, like this was like, and they're talking about, oh, like, hey, like this is the 80s and like anything goes and people are just like doing dangerous shit. And they're like, yeah, they were talking about, they would let 6-year-olds jump off these 20-foot things. And I had like flashbacks to my own childhood going to what was called Devil's Den in Connecticut with some of my, I would say my younger uncles and older cousins.
The Rock Park, right? I've been there.
You've been to Devil's Den?
Yeah,
okay,
course,
so all right, so that one's freezing cold too because that's spring fed. It's this reservoir that's spring fed. That's crazy that you've been there.
Yeah.
And then there's like Running Rock, and there's all these different heights and elevations.
The one you have to squeeze through scared the fuck out of me.
I don't remember. You might be talking about different places.
No, dude, I've been to Devil's Den.
Okay, well, but the Running Rock to me was always the scariest one because you had to, and I was like the first time I remember going, I was like 6 years old, and you have to like run and jump, and then you have to like go and there's only one place where you can land because everything else is too shallow. There's one place that when I say it's deep enough, it was like 7-8 feet depending on the day. So you have to like go and like kick your feet out. Anyways, but like that was like not a business. Like you would get in trouble if you got caught going there. This guy's entire business model was that and just being like, well, we got lifeguards, but they're high as shit and they don't give a fuck. And like like it was the most reckless place I've ever seen.
Zero regulations.
And
like
each ride kept getting like upping the ante. Like it'd go to this ride and then there'd be a ride. And then when the people pulled up in the fucking speedboats, I was like, oh my God.
But how fun did that shit look?
That looked sick.
It did look fun.
Like the bumper boats were the best. Like when I saw those, I like jumped out of bed like, oh my God, I fucking love bumper boats. The gasoline fumes you would almost pass out from because the exhaust was so bad, but those things were so fun to just ram into each other.
I'm trying to think of the other water park rides. What other one stood out to you, Ed?
So obviously, there was the cliff jump, and which I think is fine, but you just got to make sure the people under there are clear.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the Tarzan. I didn't see what was so bad about that either.
Other than the other people.
Right? Yeah.
So but then that one, it was also like, hey, you're going to like, they would talk about people like these people who were attended there just seemed like barbarians. Or to be like, oh, this guy like separated his shoulder and he's bleeding or whatever. And he's trying to like make his way to the side so he doesn't drown. And you have everybody who's waiting in line being like, pussy. You're bleeding like a little bitch. Yeah.
So the thing that they brought up that was actually like really good point is they were like, these were the working class people that in the summertime, everyone goes to the Jersey Shore or to the Hamptons,
Nantucket, and
the Cape. Mm-hmm. These were the people that didn't go to the beaches in the summer, so this was their like vacation, basically.
It was like if you watch Always Sunny, it was like all the people who went to the community pool, but then they went to like a souped up one. So that was fucking wild. And if you're thinking, how the fuck could a place like this even exist? Like their insurance premiums must have been through the roof. Uncle Gene had a solution for that, which was to make a fake insurance company out of the Cayman Islands because you legally have to have insurance to operate a place like this per the state of New Jersey's laws. He was just like, nah, like I got the answer to that. We're going to set up a fake one. So it was like this guy was just fraud every way.
The ultimate schemer.
Ultimate schemer.
He was the ultimate schemer. And he just didn't pay anything for what. But you know what I found interesting about that too? He didn't pay his bills, so like Jersey was like, "Fine, fuck you, we'll just sell you the land,"
which is crazy, dude.
Imagine strong arming a state.
No,
it seems impossible.
He got it. He got all that land for like $800,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
His lease. I mean, he made money on that deal. Like he made a shitload of money on that.
1,000%.
Just by being such a pain in the ass to the state that they were like, fuck this guy, sell it to him and get it out of our hands.
Didn't pay the people who were in the lawsuits, but I found it interesting that there was not one word said about paying employees, unless I missed that.
Oh no, he took great care of. Everyone loved working there.
which was pretty interesting to me.
Yeah,
because it's like and that's why. Like, everyone there was like, man, we knew how bad this was, but they got a grin on their face because it was so fun.
But exactly. So, and it did seem fun, especially if we worked there. Like, it was all people. It was like it was like international waters.
Yeah,
so there were no laws, and they're
anything
like
goes.
The lifeguard, the like lifelong lifeguard guy that they interviewed was so funny because he was like, he goes, I had a stack of comp cards that if anyone got severely injured, we would give them come back. Hey,
but then he was like, I wouldn't give them to my friends because it was not safe.
Yeah, he was like, walk it off and come see us again next week. But he goes, I didn't give any of those to anyone I cared about because I didn't want them to come there
responsible for their injuries. But then the same thing to the on the employee side. If you're working at a place like that and you're making some money and then the park closes or whatever and people are like, finger banging each other in these like the lifeguard shed, they're smoking weed, they're drinking, like that place was a 1980s teenage paradise.
It really
for
is.
sure, dude.
Right up until you died.
They said you could be 14 and get a job there and work 50-hour weeks. They were like,
where the fuck was OSHA? Like, where the fuck was OSHA?
Dude, we didn't even talked about the guy fucking using a fake stun gun to get people.
Oh, that was the best. Tell this story, Ed. Tell this story.
This guy was like, too many people were going up on the ski lifts to that ride or whatever
for free,
or they were knocking off something and to hit people in the head, which is super dangerous.
Right.
And this guy's like, just if you see someone coming, just hit them with this stun gun. It's fake or whatever. And he did it to an employee. And then the next day,
they staged a death.
Yeah.
They shocked this kid with a fake stun gun, and he played dead. And they carried him off like he was dead to scare people from trying to cheat the system.
Yep.
And the next day, all these mothers showed up and were like, my kids saw someone get killed here yesterday.
It's just a prank.
Yeah,
it's just a prank.
Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Real quick, though, it's not a prank. That's a JP Graziano beef kit that's sitting on our desk right here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can go grab one at tasterealchicago.com. You get a bottle of Mezzo Giardiniera that's a medium blend. If you don't like it too hot, you don't like it too mild.
Perfect.
It's a good blend. You get an Italian beef seasoning here. And you guys know the drill by now. You just got to buy your meat, your buns, and your broth, and you're good to go. You keep saying it, football season's here.
It's now. Preseason starts on Saturday.
You want to get it? Maybe if we keep doing these doc watches, maybe we'll do like a beef and a doc watch type deal.
I would love to do that.
That'd be sick. So go do it. TasteRealChicago.com. You can get yours. Or you can go to Home Depot. They're at 6 locations. Go to the Home Depot and make sure you get your beef kit if you need it readily available ASAP.
I'll tell you what I've been doing with them. I've been sending them to friends and family.
That's a great gift,
and they are like blown away because we don't have Italian beef out east. Like this is such a Chicago thing. I never heard of it till I moved here. I just went out to Jersey, visited some people that took really good care of us, and I dropped a few in the mail when we got back last week. You would have thought I sent them bars of gold.
Yeah. My mom's been doing the same thing. So that was always the thing when because she's from out there too. So when we came to Chicago like forever ago, she would get the Lou Malnati's frozen ones and send those as like little thank you things. And this is a billion times better,
way better,
and more like authentically Chicago. If we could export a food to the world from Chicago, it would be this Italian beef, and the beef kit's the best way to do it.
Yep. Niles, Home Depot, Evanston, Elston, Kimball, Lincoln, and McCormick. If you want to go grab those there.
Yep.
TasteRealChicago.com if you're in the UK or Canada or anywhere around the U.S. But Uncle, you know what else I found fascinating, and I didn't do my research on afterwards. I don't know if you guys did. Was that Playboy Club?
That was shocking too.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, at the beginning when they said they thought this North Jersey place, so we could have laid that down a little better. It was like those ski resorts, like they thought this was going to become the northern Atlantic City.
Yeah.
So they're like, Hugh Hefner bought like a Playboy Club. Like they thought gambling was going to be there. I mean, I assume that's not there anymore, right?
Yeah, I don't. That's what they were anticipating. Like,
Yeah.
they were like gambling was legalized in Atlantic City, and Atlantic City was booming. And then people like Uncle Gene and Hugh Hefner tried to get ahead of the curve, and so they did put in a play. Like, that place looked awesome. The Playboy Club, this place, and people were anticipating like the proximity to New York City in this, like you said, Dante, like this idyllic location would be like the perfect blend to like attract people, and it did, but it also just attracted chaos, and that's probably more about Uncle Gene than the location and the Playboy Club and all that.
Closed in 81.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was just blown away at how much money this guy had. Like, he just had, and like, he must have made a shit ton in the market, and his boy Bob Brennan must have continued to make a shit ton because.
Yeah, what do you think he was making if he was paying out?
I don't know, but before he even started the park, remember that part where they showed he invented and constructed the largest man-made fake snow machine ever, and it used like jet engines or some shit. They showed a picture of this thing. I was like, that looked so unsafe.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say you admire the guy, but he just is a guy who is like, does not know what the word no means. No. Like, he's just like, what do you mean I can't make a full loop-de-loop water slide? Fuck you, I'm making it. And then he would. And then he would be like, we just got to. That one person had like their arm ripped apart by the previous person's teeth that got stuck in the water slide. We'll have to tinker with it, but we're not giving up on this.
The worst ride of them all to me, besides the man and the ball on the ball. So let's talk about the man and the ball on the ball. This was
so stupid.
It's just, but it was the name. It was just so.
You've
funny
got to
too.
watch. You've got to watch the doc to get an idea of what the hell this really is, because you can't describe it. They constructed like a roller coaster track out of PVC pipe, which I don't know why, but it's going
Probably
down this
it
hill.
Was cheap.
It's going down this hill, and there was this like. What would you call it? What are those like submarine things? The old submarine.
Yeah, it was
like
they had it's a ball and a ball. So it was like they have these now where they're like filled with air. You've seen those, right?
Yeah,
They
like
play
the bubbles.
The bubbles, yeah. And you can do those. It's some weird word because they do it. I think it originated in the Alps, but it was like that. But instead, you're inside of a metal tank, and then on the outside of it had like shopping cart wheels like just stapled all over it, and it was like you said, on this track of PVC pipe when you're going down a hill. But it wasn't just like this hill and this track, like it was like a ski hill that had like you're going through like these S curves like you're a Formula One racer.
You're picking up momentum,
right? And so you're like rolling down, and then the first day that they did it,
they threw a kid in.
They put a kid in to test because give the kid $100, he'll do anything. And it was on a hot day, so the PVC pipe just like expanded and then like exploded under the pressure of the ball and a ball.
And they're describing it, and they said he went off the track, he went down the hill, across the highway, through the other side of the park,
into like a pond,
into a pond, and they pulled him out. And he was like, and he was so stunned and in shock that he was unresponsive, and they were just glad he was alive. I mean, it was how this stuff continued to go on for so long. I was just in amaze. I was laughing hysterically. Like Cheryl's looking at me like, what
until you couldn't. It was same thing. I was just chuckling to myself the entire episode until it got like very serious.
But it was also one of the most predictable docs in the world. Like could watch that. You saw it was an hour and a half. You're like, all right, the last 20 minutes is going to be someone dies, right?
Well,
you knew it.
The way it opens up with the old woman going,
"He's a piece
and I
of
quoted
shit."
this. Yeah, I wrote this down because I was like, "Whoa!" She goes, "It was a place where death was tolerated."
Yeah, that's what death was tolerated.
She said it repeatedly. She goes, "They figured it into their projections and numbers every year, how many deaths they were going to have. Like, that's wild."
Yeah. And they did have this giant wave pool too. Have you guys ever done a wave pool?
Scary fucking
yeah.
Not somewhere you want to get caught.
Right. So they had multiple drownings in that. And that was the thing. And I've been in wave pools before. I can't remember where it was, but
did you ever go to Water Country?
What's that?
It was in like Western Mass. We have this place, Water Country, that I was getting like real flashbacks watching this from.
think so.
There was a giant wave pool there, but remember the ride where they said they were talking about how your bathing suit would like go up your asshole.
Oh, well, that was like you're just free falling.
So we had a ride like that at Waterslide. It was called Geronimo, and it was the funnest fucking thing in the world. But you were free falling. You weren't touching anything until it started to curve back out, and then your feet would hit it, and your bathing suit would just go like
right up your ass.
And but it was the biggest adrenaline rush ever. As 10, 11-year-old kid.
It's like the closest thing you can do to skydiving without a parachute.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, unequivocally, the most dangerous ride was the Alpine slide, which they said.
Yeah, I would never do that. That looked.
How would you do that?
I thought it was a good idea until the guy that they interviewed was like, there was no fucking way I was doing that. You could lose toes or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't even wearing helmets.
I know.
They didn't even have helmets.
And they're like, they had, and you're going down on this cement track, and it was cement, right?
Yeah.
It looked like cement. And they're like, you had to know when to brake and lean into curves, and it's like, Jesus Christ. It reminded me of like the scene in Cool Runnings where they're like doing bobsled shit. And then they're like, yeah, but even if you knew, a lot of the carts that you would go down on, the brakes were broken. So it's even if you were the most prepared, like you've done it 100 times, you might just get a cart where the brakes don't work. So it's like, good luck.
Concrete, fiberglass, and asbestos. That's what it says.
So if you survive, possibly you get cancer.
Yeah, and of course, and that's the one where the kid tragically died, and it's just he got flung out, man, and he hit the rocks, and
well, and that's what
they didn't really explain how far the rocks were.
Yeah, but it's still so they tried to sue and the family, and that's when Dante was referencing the person who's like this old lady they feature in like the super cut in the beginning of the intro of the doc. She's like, I think Gene's a piece of shit. And she was angry about it, and you're like, and it like makes you laugh. And then she comes back at the end, and it's because her son died there, and Uncle Gene, his defense was, well, the slide didn't kill him, the rock did. So like he hit his head on that rock, and like God put that rock there, not me. And like the state, or and you couldn't really sue, so they ended up settling. They only got $100,000.
Yeah.
So
a very dickhead comment.
Yeah. Right.
Big time. Which is interesting about this Uncle Gene guys. He had that, and then he had the whole thing with the reporter where like she got fired and then she sued, but then he had a redemption arc at the end where like people said he was this big philanthropist, and the reporter forgave him. So I don't know. It was I was torn between this to be like, man, this is like make your own decisions versus like, hey, dude, you can't be that big of a shyster.
See, like I kind of you know me, like I usually subscribe to like let people make their own decisions. I don't feel that way about children. So
good point.
It seems like all these people were under the age of 25 for the most part, and like they say like you don't even have a fully formed like prefrontal cortex until you're 25. Like our guy over there, Harry, he's got the biggest prefrontal cortex I've ever seen. He's got a fucking giant head, but it's not fully formed yet. Like because he's not 25, so you can't even like make coherent decisions until you're 25. So with that, I do kind of feel like you have an obligation. And furthermore, if you are so concerned about being able to run this business, and nobody in America will insure you because they take a tour and you're like, this is fucked. Then you have to come up with a fraudulent fake insurance company out of the Cayman Islands. Then to me, that's like, I know this is bad and dangerous, but I like don't give a fuck. And if you get sued, like you can't get any money out of them because normally the insurance company would pay, but the insurance company doesn't really exist, so they can't pay, but they're registered in the Cayman Islands, so take it up with them. Like that's an admission of guilt to me. Like he knew what he was doing.
Big time. And I mean, they just continued to roll the dice and play with fire. Like the part where they were talking about the CFS can't fucking swim on the wristbands. Like anyone that the lifeguards would deem like a liability, like, hey, this person might die here today, they would pull aside and write on their wristband CFS so that the other lifeguards throughout the park could like be aware, like, hey, watch out for this. We might have someone potentially dead.
Well, and then that was the other thing with the wave pool. So they said that the wave pool got like so gross from like sunscreen and like piss and shit and whatever else was in there, that the water was so murky that you couldn't see to the bottom. So they would stop the wave pool every so often to do like a body sweep to be like, yeah, there's nobody like just at the bottom of this fucking wave pool. It was absurd.
Can you directly correlate with Action Park and like what happened versus like the suing era? Like,
what do you mean?
You know how like that was like that became a thing where it's like, oh, you get sued for everything nowadays. And
dude, this place would never exist today.
No,
ever,
ever.
That's for so many reasons.
I wonder. I mean, I'm on their Wikipedia page right now, and they have like a whole section just fatalities. So I wonder.
To be fair, all parks do that though.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yes, like you look up anything like Six Flags, whatever, Disney World, Disneyland, like you could see a lot of crazy.
This is
shit.
what I mean. Like this is an Eddie talk. Like who else would be able to pull that? I believe you.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to. I wonder what the estimation is on how many people actually pass through those gates.
Yeah, that's it. Like I wish they would have said admission and like.
Dude, there were some. They scrolled out and showed some wide angle shots. There were some fucking crowds there in some of those like scenes. Especially Eddie, you said your worst fear is like bottleneck and like having someone come up from behind you. How about that whitewater river ride where the rafts would just get clogged up,
just getting smoked?
People would just come flying down the river,
knock you out of your tube.
There were like there were fights.
There were like people would get out of the rafts and fight each other.
And like I said last week, there's nothing like a great disaster. This followed up that. Like Woodstock, this was a disaster. If we had the footage that doc has, this doc is like
big time.
You know what I mean? Like, we would have fights, we'd have everything.
He loved the chaos because remember the guy that helped design it was like, yeah, we designed it was supposed to be a lazy river, and then we were like, no, it needs to be whitewater raft. It needs to be whitewater rapids, and then that wasn't even enough. He goes, no, this needs to be class 4 rapids.
Right.
It's like.
So that was the other great quote from Uncle Gene, and I can't remember who he was talking to at the time, but he was like, "Oh, like because there people complaining about the safety of this thing, and it's like, well, what if they go over and they hit a rock?" And he's like, "If no one's complaining, if that no one's getting sued if this happens in the Colorado River," and they're like, "Buddy, this is not the Colorado River. Like you artificially like put this here. Like you have to take some ownership of this."
I also would love to find out what was in that spray bottle that they put on cuts. I know they said, but
they said alcohol and iodine,
but like, I would love to spray White Sox Dave with that. Could you imagine?
Like those? Have you ever had like I'm sure you have like rubbing alcohol on like a super bad raspberry.
Yeah.
That is like the most painful thing in the world. And I can't even like these people. It wasn't like floor burn. Like having like concrete burn. Like if you like remember when you were a kid, you'd crash your bike and like get all scraped up. Like spraying that on there would just be.
Gotta stay inside the circle though.
That was the other. That was another great little part. Is they said the whole place was paved in asphalt.
Yeah.
So they were like everyone was barefoot, burning the shit out of their feet, walking around the place the whole time. This place was just this whole place was just one big house of horrors.
Yeah.
Man? How did this happen?
And I said this when I was watching the doc last night too. If this place reopened, but it was only for like private parties, I would 1,000% go because I just don't like the crowds. But I would absolutely have a blast.
Would you go on every ride?
I would not do the one where you're going down on that cart, the Alpine. What was that one called?
Yeah, the Alpine.
The Alpine track where it's like you're literally. Remember those things in gym class where it was just like a square with 4 wheels and you would like slide around on the basketball floor. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Scooter boards.
The scooter boards.
Yeah.
That's we're going down the Alpine. Like that's what it reminded me of. Like you're like a little bit bigger scooter board, which I always hated those things in gym class too. So I would not do that one. I would not attempt the loop-de-loop one.
Hell no.
Dude,
But I think I would do everything else.
I want to do the loop-de-loop just to see. Like, I know they constructed it thinking that someone was going to be going so fast that they would just go upside down.
Of course.
I want to see, like, how...
Can anyone do that?
No, like, how poorly thought out that was.
Like if they put padding on the bottom, like if you really do get up and then boom.
Yeah.
And then fall back down. But
you would not do the one where you go airborne. And like,
I would.
You fall on your like.
Oh,
that was you could break your neck pretty easy on that one too.
I think I would do that one.
Really?
Where you like run and you have like the mat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That one was like they had like 3 different like jumps, but like I love skiing and water skiing and stuff like that anyway. So like, I have no problem like when I ski. Like I'm not a great skier, but I do like getting a little bit of like air. So if like you come over a ridge, like you try to get some. So like I don't have any issues with that. So I think I would do that one.
Speaking of getting some air on that ride, it was great when he goes, yeah, Gene didn't think that the like inclines were high enough. So he had the kids put mats, like stuffed mats under the hills so that the jumps were even higher and higher. The guy was he was
a maniac.
He was just constantly like, this isn't dangerous enough. Right. Like, we need to make it more dangerous.
People are bored with this. They're only getting broken ribs. We need them to risk their literal neck and the ability to walk.
He lived life his way, man.
Yep.
Just unbelievable.
He's also, Chief, I want to say, he's also the second uncle. Who's the more legendary uncle? Uncle Gene or Uncle Jerry? Do you remember Uncle Jerry?
Remind me.
It's an old dog walk we did. Uncle Jerry was the guy who was in the Monopoly scratch-off heist. Have you seen that, Doc?
Of course I have.
Yeah, that guy, Uncle Jerry, he'd come through, $1 million from McDonald's and Monopoly.
Yeah, that was that. See, like that seems like a better deal to me than Uncle Gene. Uncle Gene would just cash all those tickets himself. Uncle Jerry, I wish I had an Uncle Jerry.
Yeah, unreal, man. Yeah. Great doc. Really, obviously sad at the end.
Yeah.
Feel bad for the people who lost their family.
Like they're just like certain things, like you're making a track that's so fun. The one, and then like you enter a wave pool, like like anything can happen in a wave pool. The one death that I was just like, how did this guy not like end up in jail? Was in the bumper boat ride where they had the fan like propelling the water, and it obviously like short circuited and caused someone to get electrocuted and die. But it was like they found out that it was like ungrounded electricity in a water park. Underwater. Like how? Like no shit someone's going to die. Like that is like grossly, disgustingly negligent. And like that one, like there's no excuse. You can't say like, well, he was going too fast. He didn't use the brake. It was, and God put the rock there. This one's like, no, man, like you put that fan there and didn't even bother to, ground it properly, like with like techniques that are invented and used because people have died of electrocution when you don't ground them.
Science.
Like you
Physics.
Just like the very basic things that you have to do, he didn't do. And that one is like, there's no way anybody would be able to be like, well, I'm taking a risk.
But again, this is such a different time. Like
dude, the park closed in 96. It wasn't that different of a time.
But how was this place not being inspected like up and down? Like, dude, if you open you want to open a vending like tent at Navy Pier, I mean, you have to go through a shit ton of inspections down to like every single like
that's Chicago
piece of minutia.
Yeah.
But I mean, is Jersey really that fucking like lawless? Here's my question: if this place were to open today, obviously technology, things would be souped up better and all that. Do you think people would go to it, or do you think that was just different time? People were more like hardcore and less of pussies back then than they are today.
I think people would still go.
You do?
Yeah.
You think people are still like crazy? And
I think it'd be more of a clout thing. Like it would be the TikTokers would really be after.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
They would just love to vlog from there and
the
shit.
chaos. Yeah.
You're probably right.
You know what I really enjoyed was that Chris Gethard guy. I don't know.
He was hilarious.
Yeah. So funny, dude.
Yeah.
He's a comic. I looked him up after.
Oh, he is?
Like,
Oh, yeah. I recognized him. Then there was another woman who was like an actress that I recognized.
Yes, I noticed her, and she's like, you know what, at the end, though, it's like, fuck you, you're a pussy if you're from Jersey and you can't handle this shit. And I was like, you know what? Like, honestly made me respect Jersey a little more.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't disrespect them before, but like,
right.
I get why you're the way you are if you're a Jersey hardo.
Yeah.
And you went to Action Park.
They loved it. Also, there was a pretty good cameo from Lane Staley in Alice in Chains there.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
like MTV brought Headbangers Ball there, and they were like doing a day at Action Park, which was so fucking 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was a nice little cameo too.
for sure.
This doc was awesome.
It was awesome.
Highly
I texted Eddie 15 minutes in. I was like, I'm so glad you had us watch this. This is fucking awesome.
Such an easy watch. Like, and it's
Yep.
just like everything just kept like, oh, you thought that was crazy? Listen to this ride.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus, this whole fucking place was a zoo.
Yep.
It was a zoo. And then it ended, I guess, my last note here. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie with Johnny Knoxville. It is, without a doubt, a top 10 or a bottom 10 worst movie I've ever seen in my life, unfortunately.
Oh, I haven't.
Which one?
It's about.
It's called Action Park.
Oh, really?
He made a movie, and that's why, like, remember at the beginning,
The clip with Kimmel, that's what he was there
Yes,
talking about? Oh,
yes.
I didn't understand
didn't
the
know
context of that.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, it was so bad that it broke a record for like the shortest time at the theaters. Like they pulled it like almost instantly after the first or second weekend.
Wow.
after it
No
was
way.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
And it was like, I like Johnny Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
I love the story, but sadly it was that bad.
Is it based on the actual park? 'Cause
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
I think I have to watch it now.
you should, but you'll waste it's a waste of your time. But Johnny Knoxville does his own stunts. Like he goes down the fucking Alpine slide.
Oh,
and,
I'm
like,
definitely
you know,
watching it.
like
Definitely watching
he
it.
does it the right way, but the plot and the teenagers they picked. Did you see it, Harry? Yeah, he said he's seen parts of it. It's really, really bad, unfortunately.
Do they say what was at this location now?
It sounds like it's a water park. Remember the guy said he owns it.
Oh, I missed that part, I guess.
Yeah. So that's my last thing about the movie. Unfortunately, it's not good.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
I think
No.
that's it.
Great talking to you fellas.
Great talk.
Yeah.
Keep the good docs coming, Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let us know at Dog Walk Barstool, at Eddie Barstool, at Barstool Chief, at Dante the Don. Hit us up. Let us know what you want us to review as well. All right. That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.